Well, this is one of those days that I'm really delighted to be with you. Not that I'm not delighted every week. I'm going to take the peppermint out. But some weeks, I'm even more delighted. And this is one of those days. First of all, I am Elaine Bartlett, and you are listening to The Purple Portal. And I certainly am inviting you and encouraging you today to call in at 321-806-3159. Now, what are you going to be calling in today about? Today, I'm going to encourage you to call in about sort of a perspective that you may have on different things and a point of view. I just want to hear your point of view sometimes. Not that it can be changed or altered or certainly not fixed, but it's important for you to be heard. So maybe that's why I'm excited today. It's your day to be heard. But before you're going to be heard, I have a message. And this is an interesting message because actually it's going to blanket. Apparently it pertains to everyone who is listening. So it becomes sort of a blanket for you. And I really didn't know that I was supposed to be giving this message until very shortly ago. So here's the message. Every cell in your body, as you know, is a unique individual organism. And each of those cells has memory. Today, as a matter of fact, always, but particularly today, it's right before a new moon, and for the rest of the week, there will be changes taking place within you on a cellular level. This is an energetic level, and what it's doing is it's bringing you a healing energy. It's going to be moving through you to help you release old cellular memories that your body has been holding. On the physical level, you're going to recognize it because you're going to feel actually more energized and almost a sense of renewal and maybe even a sense of urgency to take more responsibility about your health, your actual physical health and well-being, and really participate in it a little bit more fully. You know, maybe you're going to start juicing again. I do a lot of juicing. I don't use a juicer. Number one, they were always too expensive for me. And number two, when I finally did get one, I think I used it 3 times and became so exasperated with it that I wound up giving the expensive thing away. So here's what I do instead. I have a good old blender. I put some ice in, I put some water in, and if I'm juicing green, I throw a fistful of kale in, some celery, maybe a cucumber if I'm just doing all green. Sometimes I'll add half a beet to it. And if it's too thick, I'll add a little V8 to it. Or actually, no, I don't use V8. Quite frankly, I use organic tomato juice that I find in the grocery store. And I just beat it all up. So I don't know what this juicing hullabaloo is all about. Sometimes, as we all know, the simpler the better. So just pay attention to any urgings to be more accountable and responsible for your physical health, which will then bring you to greater clarity mentally. It will smooth out a lot of those rough emotions that have been really like choppy seas once again. So that's the gift for you all. There is a cellular healing that is the gift for you. And I will tell you, the Ascended Master who stands within a lot of the cellular healing is a great entity known as Hilarion. And he's just a wonderful being. So some of you should Google him. The Archangel Raphael is connected with healing. And these entities are not outside of us. They're inside of you. I read a lovely thing last evening, and the statement was, hold your hands up right in front of your face. So Go do that right now. Take your hands, put them in front of your face with your palms looking at your face. And then just know that you're looking at the hands of God. That is so sobering and so powerful and so true. It went on to say, and look at your tears. It, the great it, is within your tears. And then it went on to say, it is your tears. So nothing is in vain. It's all this great evolutionary process with each one of us becoming more realigned and aware of who we are. So that's the great gift that's come at you this afternoon. And from there, I have to tell you about Jasper. Many of you know a little bit of my family, and Jasper is one of my 2 grandchildren, and Jasper is fairly new at being 8 years old. Jasper is old and wise, way beyond his years, and he was almost from the get-go. He's also extraordinarily sensitive. And so the other day he asked if he could come over, and he's in his brightness, he really sort of headed right to the computer. He wanted to see whether I had it hooked up properly. He knows his grandmother is not exactly swift, and still, believe it or not, the dang thing is still not working properly. But nonetheless, he calmly sat down at it, and he was so focused on trying to get it working, except before his focus was fully grounded, he looked at the shelf beneath the computer, and he picked up a stone, and in his loving innocence, he said, "Hey, Elaine, this is a male stone. Like, this is the second stone." And I looked at him and I said, "Jasper, you brought that stone in the other day. You brought both of those stones in." Well, Jasper collects stuff. He collects pistachio shells. He collects acorns. He collects shells. He collects anything he can possibly get his hands on. So he had collected these 2 stones. And again, he examined them and he said, well, they're both boys. Well, I'm chuckling inside saying, "Oh, that's so interesting. How do you know that?" And he examines them carefully and he shows them to me and he says, "Well, because this one is smooth here and this one is smooth there." And I just said, all right then, we have 2 male stones. Then he went on to say, "I guess most of the stones on the planet are males, because I guess that's all he's ever found." And I simply said, "Well, that can't be true, Jasper, because then the planet wouldn't be in balance. We must live in an area where there are more male stones than female stones. But somewhere there has to be a balance of female stones." And he just looked at me with total trust. He got it, I got it, and life went on. And the second wonderful thing he did, once we finally gave up, we abandoned any sort of hope for the first computer, and then he was allowed to use my computer. Now, what he likes on this computer, and I tell you all of this because this is a teacher. He's an 8-year-old teacher. So he gets on there, and there's a favorite program that he's allowed to use via his mommy and daddy, and it's something connected with the school. So because he's in 2nd grade, he always goes to grade 2. And I always say to him, "Gee, Jasper, have you ever thought of, just kind of scrolling forward and see what 5th grade is like, or, another grade?" And every time he has said, "Oh, no, it's 2nd grade." Well, I turned my back for a moment. Next thing I know, he's gone into grade 5. And I sat right down next to him. "Jasper, grade 5? What's happening here?" Well, I thought I'd give it a try. And I looked him square on and I said, "The only thing that limits you from mastering grade 5 is your belief that you are in grade 2. And he looked at me. He got it. And dang nabbit, we just sat there and he whizzed on through grade 5. So I share that story because the only thing that limits you and I is our belief. We can't do it. I'm earthbound. I'm stuck in this body. Whatever our stuckness is. But the truth is, we are all in grade 5, 105. We're boundless. There's no boundary. Who's put a boundary on us? And then we buy into it? You can't go to grade 5 because you're in grade 2? Think about that. Really? What? So that's my loving Jasper stories for the day, but really both of them are very points worth pondering in their innocence and sense of liberation. Okay, my next case here is about my dear friend Kathy, who lives in New Jersey. Kathy has a cat named Mr. B. I was never particularly a cat fan because I grew up with dogs, and it seems that, you're kind of one way or another. You grew up with dogs, you're the dog lover. You grow up with cats, you're the cat lover. Birds, the bird lover, whatever. So I really didn't know much about cats. And Mr. B, God bless him, he's 1,000,000 years old. And when I first encountered Mr. B, it had to have been about 2010 and maybe earlier. I went one day over to Kathy's home to do some feng shui. And I really didn't meet Mr. B. He darted in front of me, but he was very skitterish. And so I really didn't have a formal introduction. But over the years, I've been very attached to Mr. B energetically because whenever he gets good and sick, his mommy, Kathy, phones me to say, Mr. B is sick. What do you think? Should we take him to the vet? What's happening? How sick is he? Is he going to check out? And this has gone on now until 2017. And recently, Mr. B has been sicker, sickest. And, his 9 lives have now turned into about 109 lives. But Kathy is so attached to this dear, beautiful creature. So energetically, he's never gone to the vet. We keep doing energy work on him. I do long-distance healing. She does the cuddling up close and personal. So we've got his energy field all safely guarded. Okay, so now about a month ago, gee, Elaine, do you think he's leaving? And I would check energetically. Nope, I don't think so, not yet. Oh, maybe that weekend. Looks like it. The last full moon we had, there was a strong possibility. And this morning, I get the call from Kathy, and I could actually tell from the frequency of the tone of her voice that today's the day. There was something, her frequency had changed. Well, she's not too fond of these veterinarians because of, they just don't always, they're too much into the vaccines. I think that's what the problem is. So she's always done this all by herself. Well, today the question really was, is it time to take him to the vet for the final, he's out of here? Or does she just, hold on until he keels over? So I energetically checked and, different ways that I have of checking. And it was really difficult to tell. So I said, gee, Kathy, it seems either way is going to be okay. I think today he's leaving no matter which way. Well, okay. I could see it didn't bring her a great sense of relief at all.